All right, today we're taking a journey to the highest, most formidable places on Earth. We're going to explore the raw power of mountains and go all the way up to the very roof of the world. So let's dive in. Okay, just look at this. This is where it all starts. This little fragile settlement of tents right at the foot of this absolute giant. It really makes you wonder, right? What is it about these places so magnificent but so dangerous that just pulls us in? Why do we have this irresistible urge to climb? Well, to even start answering that question, you've got to understand the sheer scale of what we're dealing with here. I mean, mountains aren't just big hills, right? They're some of the most spectacular landforms on the planet. And get this, they cover about 1/20 of all the land on Earth. And, they come in every shape and size imaginable. You've got these rolling peaks that just kind of poke through the clouds, which, by the way, would be considered tiny little foothills in a place like Asia. And then you've got the Titans, these huge ranges called cordilleras, think the Andes or the Rockies, that are like the literal backbone of entire continents. So when we ask that classic question, what's the highest mountain in the world, we're almost always talking about one specific thing, how high it is above sea level. And by that yardstick, there is one undisputed champion. Of course, it's Mount Everest. At over 29,000 feet, its peak is practically scraping the edge of the stratosphere. But what if I told you highest isn't the only way to measure a mountain? This is where things get really interesting. Check out Mauna Kea in Hawaii. Looking at it from sea level, it seems pretty modest, right? Especially next to Everest. But most of this mountain is hidden. And that hidden part, well, it changes everything. And here it is, the big reveal. If you measure it from its true base, way down on the ocean floor, all the way to its peak, Mauna Kea is actually the tallest mountain on Earth. It beats Everest by almost 3,000 feet. It's just a fantastic reminder that highest and tallest, well, they're not always the same thing. Pretty fascinating, isn't it? But let's be real. When it comes to sheer, breathtaking, lung-busting altitude, the kind that defines the ultimate human challenge, there's one place on Earth that's in a league of its own. So let's head to the Himalayas, the real roof of the world. Okay, just take a look at this list. This is what's known as the 8,000-meter club. These are the only 14 peaks on the entire planet that rise above 26,000 feet. Now, just let that sink in for a second. Every single one of them is in the Himalayan and Karakoram ranges of Asia. I mean, the scale is just mind-blowing. To put it in perspective for you, the highest mountain outside of this area is a distant 68th in the world. And all those numbers on a chart, they translate into a landscape that looks like this. Yeah, this is not a gentle, friendly place. It is a violent, jagged kingdom of rock and ice. It is completely hostile to life. It's absolutely beautiful, for sure, but it's a kind of beauty that will kill you in a heartbeat. And speaking of deadly, the biggest danger up here isn't falling or even the insane cold. No, the biggest challenge is something you can't even see. It's the air. Or, more accurately, the fact that there's hardly any of it. This idea isn't new. Way back in the 1600s, this brilliant scientist, Blaise Pascal, he figured it out. He proved that the higher you go, the thinner the air gets, the atmospheric pressure drops. And it's that pressure that literally shoves oxygen molecules into your lungs with every breath. Now, I want you to really let this number hit you. At 18,000 feet, and remember, that's still more than 10,000 feet below the summit of Everest, the air pressure is half of what it is at sea level. So what does that mean? It means every single breath you take gives you only half the oxygen your body needs to function. Half. So that brings us to the big, critical question, right? How on earth is this even possible? How can a person not just survive, but actually climb and perform these insane feats of endurance in a place that is literally starving their body of oxygen? Well, the answer is a mix of two things: unbelievable human grit and some seriously brilliant ingenuity. See, when we're faced with a challenge that seems impossible, we don't just give up. We innovate. We invent. Just look at the evolution of gear. It's amazing. On the left, you've got an early climbing boot. We're talking heavy leather with some spikes just kind of crudely strapped on. Now, look at the right. That's a modern crampon. It's a masterpiece of engineering. Lightweight alloys, razor-sharp points. It's designed for one thing: biting into sheer ice with total precision. The jump in technology is just incredible. And you see the exact same story with the ice axe. The old school one on the left, It was basically a long walking stick to help you keep your balance. But the modern tool, that's a high-tech extension of your own arm. It's got this aggressive curve that's designed to be swung, to bite deep into a wall of vertical ice. This kind of gear doesn't just make climbing easier, it completely redefines what's even possible. But, gear and technology, that's only one part of the human story here. Long before the first modern climbers showed up with all their fancy equipment, people were already living in these places. They weren't just visiting, they were calling them home, building lives and families and entire cultures in some of the most extreme environments on the planet. I mean, look at the beautiful artistry in this bag from the Andes. This is from the Inca. It's not just a bag to carry things. Those intricate patterns, the vibrant colors, they tell a story. They speak of a people who didn't just scrape by and survive in the mountains. They absolutely thrived, and they created this incredibly rich, beautiful culture. And you see that same exact spirit right here in this Andean pot. You can't separate the art from daily life or from their spirituality. It's all woven together. And objects like this, they're such a powerful reminder that for so many cultures, mountains were never an enemy to be conquered. They were the secret center of their entire world. Now, if we shift our focus over to the Himalayas, that connection gets even deeper, even more profound. For the people who live their whole lives in the shadow of Everest, these mountains are holy. They're the homes of their gods. And this symbol, the Buddhist wheel of Dharma, it represents that deep spiritual respect. And this right here just illustrates it perfectly. This is how culture and survival get literally woven together. This cap from the Andes, it's not just a gorgeous piece of art with those amazing patterns. It's also a critical piece of survival gear. It provides essential warmth in a brutally cold climate. It's beautiful art that could literally save your life. And all of this brings us right back to where we started, back to that fundamental question. From the ancient people who built their homes here, to the modern climber obsessed with the summit. Why? Why do we climb? Is it really about conquering a mountain, or is it about discovering something deep inside ourselves? I think the answer is probably a little different for every single person who's ever stood at the bottom, looked up, and just felt that pull.